The neon lights of Gangnam flicker against the rain-soaked pavement as I stand outside a convenience store at 2 a.m., clutching a triangle kimbap that costs less than your morning coffee back home. This is not the Korea you see in BTS music videos or romantic dramas where everything gleams with impossible perfection. This is the Korea where your monthly budget of $700 determines whether you eat ramen for the third night straight or splurge on actual vegetables that cost more than a movie ticket. Welcome to the land of morning calm, where your bank account screams louder than any K-pop concert, and reality hits harder than a Korean sauna's ice bucket challenge. You've probably seen the Instagram posts: perfectly arranged Korean barbecue spread across marble tables, couples in matching outfits strolling through cherry blossoms like they stepped out of a commercial, the gleaming skyscrapers of Seoul reaching toward perpetual sunshine. What you haven't seen is the foreign English teacher sharing a bathroom with 5 strangers in a closet-sized room that costs half their monthly salary, or the digital nomad calculating bus fare down to the last one, because their visa restricts local employment and every penny matters when survival depends on precision budgeting. South Korea sells itself as a technological wonderland, where ancient tradition meets cutting-edge modernity. But living here on a shoestring budget reveals a different story entirely. One where the gleaming surface masks economic realities that can crush unprepared foreigners faster than you can say, "안녕하세요." The country's rapid transformation from war-torn wasteland to global superpower created opportunities and contradictions that shape every aspect of daily life, especially for foreigners trying to make it work on limited funds while competing in an economy designed for higher-earning locals. The contrast hits you like a freight train the moment you step off the plane at Incheon International Airport. Here's this marvel of efficiency and architectural design, with robot cleaners gliding silently past luxury duty-free shops selling $100 face creams that promise to transform your life through skincare routines that require PhD-level chemistry knowledge. Then you take the airport railroad into Seoul, watching the city unfold through scratched windows that have seen thousands of hopeful foreigners make this same journey. Endless apartment complexes that look identical from the outside, each housing thousands of people who wake up every morning to the same grinding reality of high living costs and social pressure that makes New York City look relaxed. But here's what makes this fascinating rather than simply depressing. South Korea achieved something historically unprecedented. In just 70 years, it transformed from a nation devastated by war and poverty into a global cultural and technological superpower that influences fashion trends in Paris, music preferences in São Paulo, and skincare routines in Stockholm. The same generation that literally rebuilt from rubble now watches their grandchildren become worldwide celebrities, whose dance moves get copied by millions of teenagers across 6 continents. This rapid transformation created a society that's simultaneously ultra-modern and deeply traditional, creating opportunities and contradictions that shape daily life for everyone, especially foreigners trying to make it work on limited funds while navigating cultural expectations that often seem contradictory. The geography tells part of this remarkable story. South Korea occupies a peninsula roughly the size of Indiana, but mountains cover 70% of the landmass, forcing most of the 52 million people into dense urban areas that pulse with energy and competition 24 hours daily. Seoul alone houses nearly 10 million people in an area smaller than New York City, creating a pressure cooker of competition for housing, jobs, and social status that makes Manhattan real estate look affordable. When you're living on $700 monthly, you're not just competing with other budget travelers for cheap accommodations. You're entering an economy where the average Seoul resident spends over $1,500 on rent alone, making your entire budget less than what locals spend on housing. Standing in Myeongdong on a Saturday afternoon gives you sensory overload that perfectly captures this intensity, while overwhelming your ability to process the cultural information flooding your consciousness. Street vendors hawk everything from twisted hot dogs covered in potato cubes to silk scarves imported from factories you've never heard of, their voices mixing with K-pop blasting from cosmetic shops that sell products with ingredient lists longer than pharmaceutical prescriptions. Teenagers pose for selfies with equipment that costs more than your monthly budget, while business people in identical black suits rush past, checking phones that represent more money than you've budgeted for entertainment all year. The smell of grilled meat mingles with exhaust fumes and the artificial sweetness of bubble tea that costs $5 for cups that disappear in minutes, creating an olfactory assault that somehow becomes addictive rather than overwhelming. Everyone moves with purpose that suggests they know exactly where they're going and why they need to get there immediately. Even the tourists following their guidebooks like sacred texts that promise authentic experiences through carefully curated recommendations. This is where the social hierarchy becomes visible in ways that textbooks can't adequately explain. Age determines everything in Korean society. Not just basic respect, but language forms, seating arrangements at restaurants, who speaks first in meetings, who pays for dinner, and who gets served alcohol first during evening socializing sessions. As a foreigner on a tight budget, you're outside this system entirely, which can be liberating when you want to skip exhausting social obligations, or isolating when you realize you're missing networks that lead to better opportunities and deeper friendships. You can skip the mandatory office drinking sessions that drain Korean salaries faster than slot machines. But you also miss the informal conversations where real business gets conducted and genuine relationships form between colleagues who spend more time together than with their families. The trade-offs become apparent gradually as you realize that cultural exclusion protects your budget while limiting your social integration in ways that affect long-term satisfaction with Korean life. The work culture shock hits foreign residents hardest during their first winter when the novelty wears off and reality sets in permanently. Korean offices maintain a productivity theater that would make American corporate culture look relaxed and European work-life balance look like vacation planning. Employees arrive early to demonstrate dedication, stay late to show commitment, and participate in mandatory team dinners that can stretch past midnight on weeknights while involving alcohol consumption that would violate workplace policies in most Western countries. The concept of work-life balance exists mainly in government campaigns promoting shorter hours that few companies actually implement, creating cognitive dissonance between official policies and workplace reality that affects everyone's daily stress levels. For foreigners working legally in Korea, this means budgeting not just money but energy for social obligations that feel more like endurance tests than professional networking opportunities, especially when language barriers make meaningful participation nearly impossible. But surviving on $700 monthly means most of these work culture pressures don't apply to you directly, which creates different challenges and opportunities. You're probably teaching English conversation in small academies where schedules vary unpredictably, working remotely for overseas clients who don't understand Korean time zones, or hustling through various visa-permitted activities that generate income without providing job security or benefits that locals expect from employment. Your schedule might be unconventional and sometimes chaotic, but it opens up opportunities to experience Seoul when it belongs more to residents than tourists, when the real personality emerges from behind the commercial facade designed for international consumption. Early morning Seoul reveals a different character entirely that most visitors never see because they're sleeping off jet lag or following tour group schedules. At 6 a.m. before the tourist buses arrive and transform historic neighborhoods into photo opportunities. You can walk through Bukchon-Hanok village and actually hear traditional Korean music drifting from tea houses where elderly people gather for morning conversations that continue traditions spanning centuries. The elderly practice Tai Chi in parks while vendors set up pojang matcha, those wheeled food carts that become evening social centers where real Korean culture happens away from Instagram-worthy restaurants. A cup of coffee from a convenience store costs about $1 and provides caffeine that rivals expensive cafe offerings, and you can sit on plastic chairs outside, watching the city wake up without spending anything extra while observing social dynamics that reveal more about Korean culture than any museum exhibition. The morning routine includes watching office workers practice presentation speeches while walking to subway stations, students reviewing flashcards during brief moments between cramming sessions, and elderly people feeding stray cats with dedication that suggests deep cultural values about caring for vulnerable creatures. Food becomes your primary cultural education, when every meal requires budget calculation that affects nutritional choices and social opportunities simultaneously. Korean cuisine offers incredible variety that reflects the country's agricultural seasons and cultural history. But the Instagram-famous Korean barbecue restaurants can demolish your weekly food budget in one sitting, while providing experiences that prioritize visual appeal over actual satisfaction or cultural authenticity. Surviving on $700 means mastering the art of convenience store meals, street food economics, and finding the restaurants that cater to students and office workers rather than tourists who expect English menus and familiar flavors. This budget-forced authenticity often provides better cultural experiences than expensive, tourist-oriented establishments that modify traditional recipes for international palates while charging premium prices for diluted experiences. Kimbap becomes your best friend and most reliable nutritional source. These rice rolls wrapped in seaweed cost between $2 and $4 depending on fillings, and they're filling enough for a complete meal that provides balanced nutrition when you choose varieties with vegetables, pickled radish, and protein sources. You learn that the triangle kimbap from convenience stores makes a solid breakfast for under $2, especially when paired with a small coffee that costs less than bottled water in most American cities. Korean convenience stores stock an impressive variety of ready-made meals that reflect the country's work culture and urban lifestyle demands. From bibimbap bowls that contain complete nutritional profiles to curry rice that provides comfort food satisfaction without restaurant markup. All these options are designed for people who work long hours and need quick, affordable nutrition that doesn't require cooking skills or kitchen equipment that many small Korean apartments lack. Street food opens up more interesting culinary possibilities that connect you to Korean culture through shared experiences rather than isolated consumption. Tateokbokki, chewy rice cakes and spicy sauce that locals eat as comfort food, costs around $3 for a portion that satisfies hunger for hours while providing social opportunities when you eat at communal tables where strangers share space and sometimes conversation. Hotteok, those sweet pancakes filled with brown sugar and nuts that vendors cook fresh on griddles, make perfect winter snacks for about $2 each while warming your hands and providing energy for walking through cold streets. Korean corn dogs, twisted and covered in potato cubes or ramen noodles, range from $3 to $5 and represent meals that would cost $15 at trendy American food trucks while providing similar satisfaction and Instagram potential. The real food education happens in traditional markets like Gwangjang Market, where vendors have perfected single dishes over decades of daily practice and developed customer relationships that span generations. Here, you can eat bindaeteok, mung bean pancakes, cooked fresh on griddles by ajumma who have been making the same recipe for 20 years, for about $4 that includes side dishes and unlimited tea refills. The ajumma, middle-aged women running these stalls, have zero patience for indecision or cultural confusion, but they'll pile extra vegetables on your plate if they like you and remember your preferences after a few visits. Learning basic Korean food vocabulary becomes essential not just for ordering efficiently, but for showing respect that often translates into better portions, insider recommendations, and informal Korean language lessons delivered through food-focused conversations. Korean dining culture includes expectations about sharing that can stretch your budget further when you make local friends willing to include foreigners in group meals. Ordering multiple dishes to share among groups costs less per person than individual meals, and Korean portions tend to be generous enough that leftovers become next-day meals when you have refrigeration access. But navigating social dining requires understanding subtle rules about age, status, and payment responsibilities that can be tricky for foreigners operating outside traditional hierarchies while trying to avoid cultural mistakes that affect ongoing relationships. This brings us to the elephant in the room: Or rather, the couples in matching outfits walking hand in hand through every Seoul neighborhood like they escaped from romantic comedy film sets. Korean dating culture operates according to rules that make American dating apps look spontaneous and casual, while creating expectations that can overwhelm unprepared foreigners. If you're single and living on $700 monthly, the dating landscape presents unique challenges and opportunities that nobody warns you about in cultural orientation programs. Couple culture in Korea is serious business that involves financial commitments, social obligations, and family expectations that extend far beyond individual relationships. Relationships progress through clearly defined stages marked by specific activities, gifts, and social media documentation that creates public accountability for private relationships. Korean couples celebrate monthly anniversaries with gifts and special dates, coordinate outfits that demonstrate relationship status to observers, and participate in elaborate seasonal activities like cherry blossom viewing or Christmas market tours that require planning and financial investment. The financial expectations can be overwhelming for locals who understand the cultural context, let alone foreigners managing tight budgets while learning social rules through trial and error. Dating in Korea involves gift exchanges, expensive restaurant meals, and entertainment activities that can cost hundreds of dollars monthly for couples who follow traditional patterns while documenting everything for social media consumption. The pressure to couple up intensifies during major holidays like Chuseok or Lunar New Year, when family gatherings include inevitable questions about relationship status that feel more like employment interviews than casual conversation. Korean society still expects marriage and children according to traditional timelines that ignore individual circumstances or personal preferences, creating stress that affects how people approach dating relationships and long-term planning. This urgency can work in favor of foreigners who represent something different from the usual cultural pressures and social expectations that govern Korean relationships. Foreign partners offer escape from family interference, relief from cultural conformity pressure, and opportunities for experiences that extend beyond traditional Korean social patterns. But these advantages can also lead to relationships that feel more like cultural exchange programs than genuine romantic connections based on mutual compatibility and shared values. Sogaeting, arranged blind dates, remains surprisingly common in a country that produces cutting-edge dating apps and embraces digital technology for most social interactions. Friends and family members actively matchmake with the intensity of part-time careers, using networks that span workplaces, universities, and neighborhood connections to identify potentially compatible partners based on criteria that extend far beyond personal attraction. These setups follow formal protocols that include coffee shop meetings in public locations, specific conversation topics designed to reveal important compatibility factors, and post-date evaluations that determine whether to proceed with additional meetings. For foreigners, sogaeting offers authentic cultural experiences and opportunities to meet Koreans outside the usual expatriate social circles, but the language barriers and cultural expectations can make these encounters feel like job interviews rather than romantic possibilities. The rise of dating apps created new dynamics that favor foreigners in some ways, while highlighting cultural differences that affect relationship success in others. Korean dating apps like Amanda or Tinder Korea operate according to different social rules than their Western counterparts, with emphasis on factors that might seem superficial to foreigners accustomed to different dating priorities. Photos, job descriptions, and educational backgrounds carry more weight than witty profiles or creative self-presentation that appeals to Western dating app users. The apps also reflect Korean society's emphasis on physical appearance, with users posting heavily edited photos that might not prepare you for real-life meetings while creating unrealistic expectations about partner appearance that affect relationship satisfaction. But here's where living on a $700 budget actually provides advantages in Korean dating culture that wealthier foreigners might miss. You can't afford the expensive couple activities that create financial pressure for local relationships while generating stress about money management and future financial compatibility. Instead, you're forced to suggest creative alternatives that many Koreans find refreshing after years of formulaic dating patterns that prioritize spending over genuine connection. Free activities like hiking in the mountains surrounding Seoul, exploring traditional markets where conversations happen naturally, or attending free cultural events allow for more genuine interactions than expensive restaurant meals where conversation competes with social media documentation and service expectations. These budget-friendly dates often provide better opportunities to assess compatibility while learning about Korean culture through shared experiences rather than commercial entertainment. Korean dating also involves navigating complex, gift-giving traditions that can bankrupt unprepared foreigners who don't understand the cultural significance or financial expectations attached to various occasions throughout the year. Couples exchange presents on numerous occasions, not just birthdays and anniversaries, but holidays like White Day, Pepero Day, and Christmas that each carry specific expectations about gift appropriateness, cost levels, and symbolic meanings. The gifts themselves follow unwritten rules about appropriateness, cost proportionality, and symbolic meaning that foreigners often learn through expensive mistakes that strain budgets while damaging relationships. Understanding these expectations requires cultural education that extends beyond language learning into social psychology and economic anthropology that affects relationship success more than romantic compatibility. The seasonal nature of Korean social life affects dating patterns in ways that budget-conscious foreigners need to understand for successful relationship navigation. Spring brings cherry blossom festivals that draw massive crowds to parks and rivers, creating romantic backdrops that cost nothing but require patience with selfie-taking couples who treat natural beauty as Instagram content opportunities. Summer means beach trips to places like Busan or Jeju Island that strain budgets but offer shared experiences that strengthen relationships through travel challenges and new environment adaptation. Fall provides hiking opportunities as mountains explode in autumn colors that seem too vivid to be natural, while winter transforms Seoul into a wonderland of Christmas markets and ice skating rinks that create magical experiences without requiring expensive entertainment venues. These seasonal rhythms connect to deeper aspects of Korean culture that foreigners gradually absorb while living here long-term rather than visiting as tourists. The concept of nunchi, social awareness and emotional intelligence, governs interactions in ways that textbooks can't fully explain because it requires practical experience and cultural immersion over extended periods. You learn nunchi by watching how people navigate crowded subway cars without physical contact, reading room atmospheres in restaurants to understand when conversations should be quiet, and understanding when silence communicates more than words, while avoiding cultural mistakes that mark you as permanently foreign rather than temporarily learning. Korean festivals and celebrations offer free entertainment that fits any budget while providing cultural immersion experiences that reveal authentic Korean values rather than commercialized tourism versions. Chuseok, the Autumn Harvest Festival, transforms Seoul as families travel to ancestral homes for traditional ceremonies, leaving the city quieter but filled with special events that welcome community participation. Traditional performances appear in parks and public spaces. Markets offer special foods that connect to agricultural seasons and family traditions, and museums host cultural activities that explain Korean history and values through interactive experiences rather than static displays. For foreigners, these festivals provide opportunities to experience authentic Korean culture without the commercial tourism markup that turns cultural experiences into expensive entertainment products. Lunar New Year brings different energy as families gather for elaborate meals and traditional games that span multiple generations participating in shared activities. The holiday creates fascinating contrasts between generations. Elderly Koreans wearing hanbok traditional clothing while teenagers update social media between family photos that document cultural continuity across historical changes. As a foreigner, you might receive invitations to join Korean families for holiday meals, experiences that offer profound insights into contemporary Korean life while revealing how traditional values adapt to modern circumstances. These invitations represent significant cultural honor that requires understanding proper etiquette and gift-giving protocols that demonstrate respect for family traditions and hospitality generosity. The festival calendar also includes modern celebrations that reflect Korea's global cultural influence and technological advancement. Seoul International Fireworks Festival draws hundreds of thousands of spectators to the Han River for free outdoor concerts and fireworks displays that rival expensive theme park entertainment while celebrating Korean achievements in international contexts. K-pop concerts and fan meetings create economic ecosystems that foreign fans travel internationally to experience. But living in Seoul means accessing these events at local prices rather than tourist premiums, while understanding cultural contexts that affect enjoyment and participation opportunities. The music industry events also provide networking opportunities for foreigners interested in Korean entertainment, technology, or marketing industries that drive cultural exports. Hongdae represents Seoul's youthful energy in concentrated form, a neighborhood where university students, artists, and foreigners create Korea's most international community, while maintaining distinctly Korean characteristics that resist complete westernization. The area's clubs, bars, and live music venues stay open until dawn, creating nightlife that rivals major international cities while maintaining Korean social patterns and cultural expectations. But Hongdae also demonstrates how Seoul's rising costs are pushing creative communities to outer neighborhoods, changing the character of areas that once defined Korean youth culture and artistic expression. The transformation happens gradually through rental increases and commercial development. Then suddenly, as small venues close while chain businesses move in with higher budgets and lower risk tolerance for experimental culture. The independent record stores and tiny galleries that made Hongdae special disappear overnight, replaced by cosmetic shops and franchise coffee chains that serve similar functions for consumer culture while eliminating spaces for creative expression and cultural experimentation. This gentrification pattern repeats across Seoul, creating tensions between economic development and cultural preservation that affect where budget-conscious foreigners can afford to live and socialize while maintaining access to authentic Korean culture. Seoul's transportation system provides the infrastructure that makes $700 living possible, assuming you master its complexities and hidden costs that can drain budgets through inefficient usage patterns. The subway network covers the metropolitan area with impressive efficiency that rivals Japanese systems, connecting satellite cities to central Seoul through color-coded lines that operate with punctuality that makes Swiss trains look unreliable. A T-Money card becomes your lifeline for navigating the city. These rechargeable cards work on subways, buses, and even some taxis, offering small discounts that add up over monthly usage while eliminating the need to calculate exact fares for individual trips. The convenience factor alone justifies the card cost, but the savings accumulate significantly for people making multiple daily trips across the metropolitan area. The basic subway fare costs about 1,400 won, roughly $1.10, making cross-city travel affordable compared to major American cities, where similar distances cost 3 to 5 times more while providing less reliable service and longer travel times. But Seoul's geography means longer commutes for affordable housing, and those extra stops accumulate costs over time while affecting quality of life through increased travel time and crowding stress. Living in outer areas like Incheon or Bundang might save money on rent, but transportation costs and commute times can eliminate the savings while reducing your social opportunities and cultural experiences that represent primary reasons for living in Korea. The trade-offs require careful calculation that considers total lifestyle costs rather than individual expense categories. Korean buses complement the subway system with extensive coverage that reaches neighborhoods without rail access, while operating on schedules that require local knowledge for efficient usage. The bus system operates through a hierarchy that takes time to understand. Regular buses, express buses, and luxury buses with different fares comfort levels, and route patterns that serve different demographic groups and travel purposes. Night buses run limited routes for late-night travel, essential for anyone working unconventional hours or enjoying Seoul's nightlife scene that continues well past subway closing times. These services cost slightly more than regular buses but eliminate expensive taxi fares that can devastate budgets when public transportation stops operating around midnight. The integration between different transportation modes reflects Korean efficiency planning that prioritizes system-wide optimization over individual convenience, while maintaining affordability for residents who rely on public transportation for daily mobility. You can transfer between subway lines and buses using the same T-Money card, with the system calculating optimal routes and fares automatically while providing real-time updates through smartphone apps. This integration makes car ownership unnecessary for many Seoul residents, saving money that budget-conscious foreigners can redirect toward other expenses, while avoiding the complications of international driving licenses, parking costs, and vehicle maintenance that strain budgets while providing limited benefits in a city designed for public transportation usage. But transportation costs become significant when exploring beyond Seoul through Korea's extensive rail network. The KTX bullet train system connects major cities at speeds up to 300 kilometers per hour, making day trips to Busan or weekend escapes to Jeju Island theoretically accessible for residents with flexible schedules. However, KTX tickets cost between $50 and $100 each way, representing major budget line items that require advanced planning and savings accumulation for occasional trips. This is where Korea's natural beauty provides budget-friendly alternatives that most tourists never consider, because guidebooks focus on famous destinations rather than accessible wilderness areas. The mountains surrounding Seoul offer hiking trails accessible by regular subway trains, leading to peaks with panoramic views that rival expensive tourist destinations while providing exercise, fresh air, and cultural experiences through interaction with Korean hiking communities. Bukhansan National Park sits within Seoul city limits, providing wilderness experiences that cost nothing beyond transportation to trailheads while offering escape from urban intensity without requiring overnight accommodation expenses. The park includes temple complexes, scenic overlooks, and hiking trails suitable for various fitness levels and time commitments. Korean hiking culture embraces all ages and fitness levels, creating mountain communities where retirees in full technical gear share trails with families carrying elaborate picnic setups that transform hiking into social events. The hiking culture also reflects Korean social values: group coordination, shared responsibility for trail maintenance, and respect for natural environments that city living intensifies rather than diminishes through increased appreciation for accessible wilderness. Seasonal hiking reveals different aspects of Korean natural beauty throughout the year, while providing free entertainment that fits any budget. Spring hiking means cherry blossoms and azaleas blooming across mountainsides, creating natural festivals that cost nothing to experience while providing photography opportunities and cultural immersion through shared appreciation of seasonal beauty. Summer brings challenges from heat and monsoon rains, but also unique opportunities to experience Korean monsoon culture, the way people adapt activities and social patterns around seasonal weather that defines half the year through humidity rainfall and temperature patterns that affect daily life planning and social scheduling. Fall hiking in Korea approaches religious experience as mountains explode in red and gold foliage that seems too vivid to be natural, attracting photographers and nature lovers who create informal communities around shared appreciation for seasonal transformation. The autumn colors draw crowds to famous locations, but Seoul's surrounding mountains offer equally spectacular views without tourist infrastructure markup or crowd management problems. Winter hiking requires more preparation and appropriate clothing, but rewards hardy souls with snow-covered landscapes and crystal-clear air that makes Seoul's skyline look like a movie set, while providing exercise opportunities when indoor alternatives become expensive or crowded. Temple stays provide another budget-friendly way to experience Korean nature and culture simultaneously while gaining insights into Buddhist philosophy and meditation practices that influence contemporary Korean values. Buddhist temples throughout Korea offer overnight programs where visitors participate in meditation sessions, vegetarian meals, and traditional ceremonies that provide authentic cultural experiences. These programs cost between $30 and $60 for full experiences that include accommodation, meals, and cultural activities that would cost hundreds of dollars through commercial tourism, while providing deeper cultural understanding and personal reflection opportunities that affect long-term perspectives on Korean society and personal values. The temple stay experience also offers perspectives on Korean spirituality that balance the country's technological advancement with deeper philosophical traditions that influence social behavior and individual psychology. Korean Buddhism adapts ancient practices to contemporary life in ways that feel relevant rather than nostalgic, while providing practical techniques for stress management and social harmony. Participating in temple routines provides meditation techniques, dietary awareness, and social interaction patterns that enhance daily life long after returning to Seoul's urban intensity, while creating understanding of Korean cultural values that affect business relationships, social expectations, and personal development approaches. But let's address the aspects of Korean life that don't appear in tourism promotions or cultural exchange brochures because they complicate the attractive image that draws foreign residents. South Korea consistently ranks among the world's safest countries for personal security and property crime, but that safety comes with social pressures and cultural expectations that affect mental health in ways that foreign residents gradually understand through extended exposure. The education system creates competitive intensity that begins in elementary school and continues through university entrance exams that determine entire life trajectories, while shaping family dynamics and social relationships around academic achievement. Korean students study longer hours than peers in most other countries, with private tutoring academies called hagwons extending school days well into evening hours while creating additional financial pressure on families. This educational pressure creates social dynamics where academic achievement determines social status, family pride, and economic opportunities in ways that feel overwhelming to observers from less competitive educational systems. The pressure produces remarkable achievements. Korean students consistently score among the world's highest in international assessments, and Korean universities produce graduates who drive the country's technological advancement and cultural exports. But the system also creates mental health challenges that Korean society struggles to address openly while maintaining cultural values about persistence, family honor, and social success that conflict with individual well-being priorities. Suicide rates among Korean youth remain concerning, reflecting pressures that extend beyond education into social conformity expectations that affect all aspects of life from career choices to relationship decisions. Korean healthcare provides excellent medical services at costs that seem impossible compared to American healthcare expenses, while maintaining quality standards that exceed many developed countries. A doctor visit might cost $15 to $30 without insurance, while dental cleanings cost around $50 at private clinics that provide service levels comparable to expensive American practices. Prescription medications cost fractions of American prices, making healthcare accessibility a significant advantage for foreign residents managing tight budgets while dealing with health issues that might bankrupt uninsured Americans. The system efficiency and cost control demonstrate how universal healthcare can function effectively when properly implemented and culturally supported. But accessing healthcare requires navigating language barriers and cultural expectations about doctor-patient relationships that differ significantly from Western medical culture in ways that affect treatment effectiveness and patient satisfaction. Korean doctors often provide advice that extends beyond immediate medical issues into lifestyle recommendations about diet, exercise, and social habits that reflect holistic health approaches. This comprehensive approach can feel intrusive to foreigners expecting more limited medical interactions focused on specific symptoms rather than overall lifestyle assessment. The cultural differences also affect communication patterns, treatment compliance, and follow-up care that influences health outcomes for foreign residents who don't understand cultural contexts affecting medical relationships. The Korean healthcare system also reflects cultural attitudes about appearance and self-improvement that foreigners find simultaneously fascinating and concerning, while revealing social pressures that affect individual psychology and social relationships. Plastic surgery enjoys mainstream acceptance that makes cosmetic procedures routine rather than exceptional, while creating economic opportunities for medical tourism and aesthetic improvement industries. Seoul's Gangnam district houses hundreds of plastic surgery clinics advertising services that range from minor adjustments to complete facial reconstruction, while competing for customers through advertising that would seem inappropriate in many other countries. The concentration of cosmetic surgery businesses reflects demand levels that indicate cultural values about appearance, social success, and personal improvement that influence daily life decisions. The normalization of cosmetic surgery connects to broader Korean cultural values about self-improvement, social presentation, and competitive advantage in employment and relationships, while creating pressures that affect self-perception and social interactions. Korean job applications often require photos, making appearance a legitimate professional concern rather than superficial vanity, while creating incentives for cosmetic enhancement that affect career prospects. This creates pressures that budget-conscious foreigners need to understand while forming relationships and professional networks that might be affected by appearance expectations and social presentation standards that differ from home country norms. The cultural differences also create opportunities for foreigners who understand Korean beauty standards while maintaining authentic self-presentation that demonstrates cultural awareness without complete assimilation. Korean beauty standards influence daily life through skincare routines that involve multiple products and techniques that seem elaborate to foreigners accustomed to simpler approaches, while requiring time investment and product knowledge that affects daily schedules and budget allocation. Korean cosmetic companies export products worldwide, but living in Korea means accessing these products at domestic prices while learning application techniques that Korean women master during adolescence. The beauty culture also creates economic opportunities for foreigners who understand Korean products and can bridge cultural gaps for international consumers while building businesses around cultural translation and product expertise. Teaching skincare techniques, translating product information, or helping overseas customers access Korean beauty products can provide supplemental income that stretches $700 budgets while building useful cultural knowledge. For foreigners considering longer-term residence in Korea, visa options have expanded recently to accommodate changing work patterns and international mobility trends that reflect global economic changes and remote work opportunities. The traditional E2 teaching visa remains popular for English speakers, but requirements include background checks, health examinations, and degree authentication that can cost several $100s before arriving in Korea, while creating bureaucratic delays. The new digital-nomad visa, F1D, allows remote workers to stay in Korea for up to 2 years while working for overseas employers, representing recognition of changing work patterns and international mobility trends. This visa requires proof of annual income exceeding $64,000, putting it beyond reach for budget travelers but offering possibilities for established remote workers who want to experience Korean culture long-term, while maintaining international career opportunities. Korean language requirements vary significantly depending on visa type and employment situation, while affecting integration success and social opportunities throughout residence periods. English teaching positions often require minimal Korean language skills initially, while other employment opportunities expect functional communication abilities that take months or years to develop through formal study and practical application. The language barrier affects daily activities from banking and healthcare to shopping and social interactions in ways that create ongoing challenges for foreign residents, while limiting access to cultural experiences and professional opportunities that require Korean communication skills. Learning Korean becomes essential for long-term success, but represents significant time investment that competes with work obligations and social activities. Banking in Korea requires alien registration numbers and documentation that can take weeks to obtain, creating initial periods where foreign residents rely on cash transactions and international ATM fees that strain tight budgets while limiting access to online services and automatic payments. Korean banking systems prioritize security and regulatory compliance over convenience, creating procedures that feel bureaucratic compared to online banking expectations in other countries. The language barrier extends beyond practical matters into social integration challenges that affect long-term satisfaction with Korean residents while determining success in building meaningful relationships and professional networks. Learning Korean requires significant time investment, but fluency opens professional opportunities and social relationships that remain limited for English-only speakers while providing access to cultural experiences unavailable to non-Korean speakers. The investment pays dividends for people planning extended stays, but creates ongoing frustration for short-term residents who struggle with basic communication needs while dealing with daily tasks that require Korean language skills. The learning process also reveals cultural values and social patterns that affect integration success beyond simple communication ability. Korean social integration also requires understanding cultural values about group harmony, social hierarchy, and collective responsibility that influence workplace dynamics, friendships, and community participation in ways that affect daily life satisfaction and long-term resident success. These values can feel restrictive to foreigners accustomed to individualistic cultures that prioritize personal choice over group consensus. But these same values also create support networks and social stability that benefit residents who adapt successfully while providing safety nets during difficult periods and community connections that enhance quality of life through shared experiences and mutual assistance. The integration process reveals contradictions within Korean society that reflect the country's rapid development and cultural transitions between traditional and modern values. Traditional values about family obligation and social respect compete with modern pressures about career achievement and individual success, while creating tensions that affect daily decision-making and long-term planning for both Korean citizens and foreign residents. These tensions create opportunities for foreigners who can navigate between different cultural expectations, while avoiding conflicts that arise from misunderstanding social contexts and cultural priorities. Living in Korea on $700 monthly requires accepting limitations that wealthier residents can avoid. But it also provides authentic experiences that expensive expatriate lifestyles often miss, while revealing cultural truths that money can't access. You shop at traditional markets where vendors remember your preferences after a few visits, while treating you like family rather than customer. You eat at restaurants where the menu exists only in Korean, and ajumas treat you like adopted relatives once you prove your commitment to their food and respect for their expertise. You ride crowded subway cars during rush hour sharing space with students, cramming for exams, office workers practicing presentations, and elderly people who represent the full spectrum of Korean society rather than the filtered international community that many wealthy expatriates inhabit through private clubs and exclusive services that create cultural isolation. The budget constraints force creative solutions that often lead to better cultural understanding than more expensive approaches while providing authentic interactions that money can't buy. Instead of expensive language schools with standardized curricula, you practice Korean through daily interactions with shopkeepers, restaurant staff, and neighbors who appreciate your efforts more than professional instructors appreciate tuition payments while providing real-world context for language learning. Instead of tourist attractions with English explanations, You participate in neighborhood festivals and local events that reveal how Korean culture actually functions rather than how it presents itself to international audiences through commercialized cultural products designed for foreign consumption rather than authentic cultural transmission. The seasonal rhythms of Korean life become more meaningful when you experience them as a resident rather than a visitor, while understanding cultural significance that extends beyond surface observations. You understand why Koreans get excited about cherry blossoms after enduring months of winter cold and spring rain that make seasonal beauty precious rather than expected. You appreciate the relief of autumn hiking after surviving summer humidity that makes air conditioning bills spike beyond comfortable levels while creating appreciation for seasonal change. You recognize the social importance of seasonal foods and activities that mark time passage in meaningful ways, rather than arbitrary calendar divisions, while connecting personal experiences to cultural traditions that span generations. Korean work culture gradually makes sense as you observe how social obligations and professional relationships interconnect in ways that prioritize group stability over individual preferences while serving protective functions that benefit long-term workplace harmony. The mandatory team dinners that seem intrusive to Western sensibilities serve important functions in maintaining workplace communication and information sharing that formal meetings cannot accomplish while building personal relationships that affect professional collaboration and career advancement opportunities. Understanding these dynamics helps foreign workers navigate Korean professional environments more successfully while avoiding cultural conflicts that derail careers and social relationships. The dating culture reveals similar patterns where apparent restrictions actually serve protective functions that benefit long-term relationship stability while creating shared experiences that strengthen partnerships during difficult periods. The elaborate gift exchanges and couple activities that seem excessive to foreign observers create mutual investment and emotional connection that support relationships through challenges, while building social networks that provide ongoing support throughout major life transitions. But living on a tight budget in Korea also means accepting social limitations that affect romantic relationships, professional advancement, and social integration, while creating ongoing stress about financial security and social acceptance. You can't participate in expensive group activities that build important social bonds through shared experiences and mutual investment. You can't reciprocate hospitality at levels that Korean social customs expect while maintaining respect and social standing within community networks. You can't afford the appearance investments that influence first impressions and ongoing social acceptance while competing in social environments where presentation affects opportunities and relationship success. These limitations require developing alternative strategies for social participation that demonstrate respect and commitment through effort rather than expenditure, while building social capital through consistent presence and cultural understanding. Learning Korean language skills, understanding cultural references, and participating consistently in free community activities can build social capital that transcends economic limitations while demonstrating long-term commitment to Korean society and cultural integration. But the process requires patience and persistence that not all foreign residents can maintain over extended periods while dealing with ongoing financial stress and cultural adaptation challenges. The question becomes whether Korea, on $700 monthly, provides sufficient rewards to justify the compromises and challenges that budget constraints create while competing with alternative opportunities in other countries or home country career development. The answer depends on individual priorities, cultural adaptability, and long-term goals that extend beyond immediate financial considerations while considering personal growth opportunities and international experience benefits. For some people, the opportunity to experience one of the world's most dynamic cultures while learning valuable language skills and building international networks justifies temporary financial limitations while providing career development opportunities that may not be available elsewhere. Korea's strategic position in global technology, entertainment, and business creates opportunities for professional growth that can lead to long-term benefits exceeding the monetary costs of budget living. The cultural experiences and personal growth that result from successfully adapting to Korean society can provide lifelong benefits that exceed initial financial investments while creating international perspectives and cross-cultural competencies that enhance career prospects and personal development in ways that traditional education cannot provide. For others, the social limitations and daily stress of financial constraints outweigh the cultural benefits and growth opportunities that Korean residence provides, while creating ongoing anxiety that prevents enjoyment of positive experiences and cultural learning opportunities. The language barriers, cultural differences, and economic pressures can create ongoing frustration that prevents appreciation of Korea's advantages while limiting access to experiences and relationships that represent primary reasons for choosing international residence. The budget limitations may restrict access to experiences and social relationships that provide meaning and satisfaction, while creating isolation that undermines the cultural immersion benefits that justify the financial and social sacrifices required for extended Korean residence. The decision requires honest assessment of personal resilience, cultural curiosity, and financial flexibility that determines whether $700 living enhances or diminishes overall life satisfaction while achieving personal and professional goals. Korea rewards residents who approach cultural differences with openness and humor while maintaining realistic expectations about integration timelines and social acceptance patterns that affect daily experience quality and long-term residence success. The country offers remarkable opportunities for personal growth, cultural education, and international experience that can reshape perspectives and create lifelong connections while providing skills and knowledge that benefit future career and personal development. But it also demands adaptability, patience, and cultural sensitivity that challenge assumptions about individual rights, social relationships, and life priorities that many foreigners take for granted, while requiring ongoing effort to maintain positive attitudes during difficult adjustment periods and cultural learning experiences. Standing in Seoul at midnight, watching the city, as neon reflections shimmer in the Han River, while couples pose for selfies and street vendors call out their offerings in languages that blend Korean with international influences, you realize that Korea exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously while constantly evolving through cultural exchange and technological advancement. It's the hyper-connected digital society where robots clean airports and apps control everything from subway cards to restaurant reservations while maintaining efficiency standards that make other countries seem technologically backward. It's also the traditional culture where elderly people practice Tai Chi in parks, while vendors sell rice cakes using recipes passed down through generations while maintaining cultural authenticity despite modernization pressures. Living here on $700 monthly means experiencing both dimensions authentically, rather than choosing between sanitized tourist experiences or expensive expatriate isolation, while building genuine understanding of Korean culture through daily participation in community life and social interactions that reveal cultural truths unavailable to casual visitors. You become part of the daily rhythm that defines Korean life. The early morning subway rushes where everyone maintains respectful silence, the late-night convenience store runs where clerks recognize your preferences, the seasonal festivals that mark time passage through shared community experiences rather than individual achievements while creating memories that connect personal experience to cultural traditions. The question isn't whether you can survive in Korea on $700 monthly. Thousands of foreign residents prove that it's possible with proper planning, cultural adaptation, and realistic expectations about lifestyle limitations and social opportunities. The question is whether the experience provides sufficient value to justify the compromises and challenges that budget limitations create while building the language skills, cultural knowledge, and social networks that determine long-term success in Korean society. The real test comes not during the honeymoon period when everything seems exciting and new, but during the difficult months when cultural differences create frustration, budget constraints limit opportunities, And language barriers prevent meaningful communication while daily stress accumulates from ongoing adaptation challenges and financial uncertainty. Success requires maintaining perspective about long-term benefits while managing short-term difficulties that can overwhelm unprepared residents who underestimate the emotional and practical challenges of extended international residence on limited budgets. But for those who successfully navigate these challenges, Korea provides experiences and opportunities that create lasting impact on personal development and international perspective, while building skills and knowledge that benefit lifelong career and personal growth. Comment below if you'd take the challenge of living in Korea on just $700 a month, and share which aspect of Korean culture interests you most. Would you brave the kimchi-scented gositel rooms and navigate sogaeting blind dates for a chance to experience one of the world's most fascinating societies from the inside, rather than as a tourist? The neon lights are calling with promises of adventure and cultural immersion. But the rice cooker in your tiny room and the carefully calculated daily expenses are what you'll actually come home to each night while building memories that last forever.